All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us today for THON 2021 Behind the Scenes. This is the 8th presentation of our Noontime Knowledge series for Penn State supporters. Today, you may have been expecting Peter Tombros as your MC, and it's obvious I'm not Peter. I'm Kelly Altland. I'm the Chief Development Officer for Penn State Health and Penn State College of Medicine. And it's my distinct honor to engage with our amazing THON students. And they work so tirelessly to raise funds in support of children battling cancer and the pursuit for a cure and better treatments. And I get to see firsthand that impact. Peter did ask that I share his disappointment in not being able to join us today. He had some planned surgery, but his recovery is just taking a bit longer than he expected. So we told him to rest, relax, and recover. And this is not a HIPAA violation. Peter said I could share this information. He wanted to make sure that you all knew that only surgery would keep him away. He and his wife, Ann, are so proud of our Penn State students and the amazing work of THON. Before I tell you a bit more about this event and today's guests, I'd like to give you a few logistical reminders. This session is being recorded and will be shared with those who couldn't be here for the live event today. Your microphones are currently muted, but we encourage you to turn on your camera so we have the chance to see one another. Following the session, we'll have a question and answer session. To participate in that, you can submit your questions at any time using the chat in the control bar. And with that, we're ready to get started. As I had shared just a few minutes ago, in my role, I get a front row seat. And I get to watch the truly remarkable work that today's speakers are doing as part of the THON's 2021 Executive Committee. I've been so impressed by their enthusiasm. Our student volunteers dedicate their time to fundraise for 4 Diamonds at Penn State Children's Hospital, and that directly supports childhood cancer treatment and research. I'm especially proud to see the resilience that this year's THON leadership and all students have demonstrated, given their need to adapt almost all of their efforts to meet the unique challenges and demand that this year's fundraising efforts require. While certainly not engaged in the day-to-day work with our THON students, I do get to help from time to time. And I want to tell you, they've been innovative and they have found new spins on all of their previous fundraisers. For example, their traditional 5K, they pivoted to be an around the world challenge, a virtual THON 5K powered by PNC. And last October, THON challenged supporters to join together and fundraise by independently running and then collectively hitting 25,000 miles, the distance it would take to traverse the earth. I think Katie's going to give you an update on how successful that event was, so I won't share exactly those results. But I will tell you that this initiative and several others like it, THON volunteers are making this year every bit as special as the rest. And this afternoon, you'll get to hear exactly how they're going to make that happen and how they're planning for the first ever all virtual THON weekend. Now it's my honor to introduce you to the 3 members of the THON 2021 Executive Committee. First is Katie Solomon. She's a senior from Harleysville, Pennsylvania, and she's majoring in criminology and sociology. This year, Katie serves as THON's executive director. Previously, she had served as the Director of Development for THON in both 2019 and 2020, something that's unprecedented. Katie is also a former intern with the Division of Development and Alumni Relations. Aside from THON, Katie is a former volunteer for Camp Kesem, Central Pennsylvania, a week-long summer camp for children with a parent who has been impacted by cancer. She also served in leadership roles for Penn State Homecoming and the 2019 Class Gift Campaign. After graduating from Penn State, Katie hopes to attend law school. Eddie Izertel is a senior from Springfield, Pennsylvania, and he's majoring in science with a minor in biochemistry and molecular biology. This year, he's serving a 2nd straight term as THON's Alumni Engagement Director. In this role, Eddie acts as the primary liaison between THON and the Penn State Alumni Network, partnering very closely with the Penn State Alumni Association. He's also a counselor for Camp Kesem and has worked in a biochemistry lab throughout his Penn State career. After graduation, Eddie plans to work in the pharmaceutical sales and marketing industry. And finally, Aiden Cliff is a junior from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, majoring in finance with a minor in information systems management. He is the THON 2021 Development Director. In this role, Aiden oversees relations with thousands of alumni and corporate donors across the nation. Aiden is also a member of Phi Chi Theta, professional business fraternity, and the Happy Valley Capital, a student-run venture capital firm. Upon graduating from Penn State, he hopes to work for a tech startup. Now, it's my distinct pleasure to turn over today's event to our speakers to kick it off.
Thank you so much for that incredible introduction, Kelly. It is an absolute pleasure to have gotten to know you over these past few years and to get to work with you. I really appreciate all of your kind words and for taking the time to introduce us today and for everything that you do to support THON and Four Diamonds. So I'm just going to share my screen then. Give me one moment. Are you able to see the presentation? Okay, I see some thumbs up, which is great. All right, so we're going to just talk a little bit about, THON. And that's something I think most people on this call are familiar with, whether you've been involved directly or not. THON is all over Penn State's campus. It's a longstanding tradition and something we're all super proud to have be part of our community. But with everything else related to COVID-19 and the pandemic and everything going on this past year, everything has changed. And that does not mean that THON has been unaffected by this either. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what THON has done to adapt to the pandemic, some of the successes and highlights from our year thus far, and then dive into a little bit about what we're planning for THON weekend, which is coming up in just 9 days. We're super excited to have you all here and share this with you, and are just thankful for the time to present a little bit more about what we've been up to this year. So THON is a year-long effort. We start transitioning leadership in March, which is usually just a handful of weeks after THON weekend. So we really do quickly get into the next cycle as fast as possible. And this year's theme for THON is Rise and Unify. And that kind of embodies what we've been able to do this year with our entire community. Although there's only 3 of us here today representing THON, THON is more than just us. It is thousands and thousands of students, alumni, and general supporters that make what we do possible. And we thought that this theme was a good representation of kind of just the ability to bring people together when we all believe in a common cause. So that's kind of where the plane comes from as well. Rise and Unify. It's a play on just the idea of rising above challenge, rising above adversity, and continuing to do as much as we possibly can for the kids. So that's been our theme and our mantra, and everything that we go to this year, it all comes back to this: rising above challenge and bringing together all of the people that it takes to make THON possible. So one of our big focuses this year has been on diversity, equity, and inclusion. THON is an organization that fundamentally changes lives of those who are involved, those that we work with, really everyone it reaches, it somehow makes an impact. And that should be an opportunity that any Penn State student or a person who wants to be involved should have. So what we did over the summer was we collected feedback about our organization and where were our shortcomings and where were we going wrong in the past. And there were plenty of responses. THON has not always been perfect. We have not been able to provide the same support to everyone like we should have been able to. So we collected that feedback directly through a survey, which respondents could submit directly or anonymously what their thoughts were about THON's just ability to be equitable to everyone. Once we had that information, we kind of put it into an action plan that addressed all of the major concerns, which mostly were surrounded barriers to entry, expectations of participation when it comes to time, finances, resources, so forth and so on, as well as just programming that we were able to offer to our volunteers. We had seldom trainings that related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that was something that we were able to kind of course correct and be on a better plan of action for. So that action plan is available publicly on thon.org. And what it does is it walks through every single thing that we've done thus far to address some of our shortcomings as an organization when it comes to these efforts, as well as some plans that we have in the future. We've had a lot of really great professional programming this year from Charlie-Ann Jeffries, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, Brian Pachkowski, Andre Colbreth, and other things through the Office of Global Programs. We've really been able to open up resources to our volunteers that have to do with just everything from gender, race, sex, so forth and so on, so that we're able to make THON a more open space for these kind of conversations and make anyone who wants to be a participant feel comfortable being so. In addition, we revamped our entire volunteer selection process when it comes to committee members. So typically they would go in and rank 1, 2, 3, here's the committees I want to be a part of. And we've run into issues longstanding with a certain hierarchy of committees, some having more of an appearance that they're cooler than others or more important. In order to dissuade some of those just outstanding reputations for committees, we decided to make our first year application more of an open pool, and anyone could be considered for any committee. That way there was no more of this hierarchy between some committees being perceived as cooler than others. And a lot of that has now been able to set forth a better tone for the future of making sure that everyone feels their value within THON, whether they're on the Rules and Regulations Committee or the Dancer Relations Committee. Everyone is important and essential to the function of our organization. So in short, that's what we've been doing. I would welcome you all to review the plan that we have put in place. And if you have feedback or ideas, we would of course welcome those as well, because this is not going to be an overnight fix and something that we're committed to setting the groundwork for this year for a very strong future. And there's just a picture of the front cover of our framework.
Great, thanks, Katie. So if you want to flip through, yep. So want to talk a little bit about our virtual THON 5K powered by PNC. Kelly was able to give a pretty great introduction to this event, but it did occur back in October, and on October 11th, which was race day and the day of our live stream event. This 5K, obviously we had to totally revamp and do it much differently than we've done in the past, since we weren't able to have the in-person component for obvious reasons. We've had a virtual component in the past, but it's definitely been lacking, and this year we decided to focus on that component. The first thing that we did was supply runners with these runner boxes, which included a lot of great things like t-shirts, different items from PNC and different items that they would need to participate in the virtual 5K. We also supplied them with training plans and playlists so that all participants of the virtual 5K could be as active and could be, really into the event as much as possible, as if they were there in person. Another really great component that really made the virtual 5K stand out this year was the Around the World Challenge. So THON set out to run around the world, which is 25,000 miles the week leading up to the 5K. We used the Charity Miles apps to do this, and because of the great support of Peter and Ann Tombos, we were able to offer incentive funds for all participants to really try to get as many people running around, running and walking as possible, so that we could hit this 25,000 milestone. The goal of this was to get all volunteers out and active in the community, while also showing the great support of THON even through the pandemic in a virtual sense. So when all was said and done, the THON community was actually able to collectively run around the world twice, totaling over 57,000 miles. This was a great feat, obviously, in just 1 week, and it really showed the power of our community even through a pandemic. And all in all, the total for the THON 2021 virtual 5K was over $100,000 with $109,633. And to cap off the day's events, we had a great live stream that kind of just culminated the Around the World Challenge and all the amazing things that we were doing for the virtual 5K.
Awesome. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about our Dream Forward campaign, which is our annual capital campaign. It goes on during the fall semester, and this started with the one-day campaign a few years ago, but last year was our first Dream Forward campaign. So we wanted to continue that for THON 2021. So the goal of the Dream Forward campaign was to really reconnect all of our stakeholders with THON's mission. We noticed that a lot of times there was maybe, less engagement during the fall. A lot of times all that engagement came and happened in January and February as we were leading up to THON weekend. But, with the distractions of football and things like that, sometimes THON maybe falls behind a little bit there. So the goal of the capital campaign is really to put our name out there and remind people that THON is really a year-round effort. It doesn't stop. It's not just a spring semester thing, but we're working all year to fundraise. So our mission or our goal for this capital campaign was to raise $500,000 in about 13 days from October 18th to October 30th, 2020. And really this campaign, included social media, email, video challenges. There were some things that we had done in person in the past that we needed to kind of regroup and reorganize. So we were able to kind of create social media blurbs and things like that that people could post online, really to spread our mission and continue to kind of grow their fundraising in the fall and boost it. Ultimately, throughout this whole campaign, we were, not necessarily sure. This is one of our biggest fundraising campaigns. And obviously we were wondering how people might respond in a year that looks so different, but it was incredibly successful. We raised $690,000 in these 13 days, which is enough to fund 80 weeks of child life support, 3 years of prescription copay coverage, and 4,200 hours of music therapy. I think for us, this was just something where we were kind of like, wow, like we're going to be okay. Like our THON community is stronger than, strong as ever. We are still getting support. We're still seeing this commitment to our mission of, battling childhood cancer throughout all of this, despite what's going on. This clearly is still a priority in people's, minds and hearts. And that's something that's really important to us as a Penn State community. And, as a THON community, just knowing that we have all that support still really motivated us for, the rest of this year.
Great. So going into this year, another thing that THON really knew had to be the center and the focus of this year is our family support. A lot of what traditionally would have been done with the families does take place in person, and our family relations committee and the whole THON community really hit the ground running, making sure that no matter what the circumstances were, we are able to support our families emotionally, just as we're able to support them financially. So the first kind of great example of that was Harvest Day this year, which took place on October 25th. The Family Relations Committee prepared these great take-home kits, as you can see kind of on the bottom right of the screen. And they included all the items that the families would need for the day. We included pumpkins and paint for pumpkin painting, different items for a costume and fall fashion show. We had a separate event just for the teens. Something that THON's been really focusing on over the last couple of years is making sure that we are supporting children of all ages. Usually the younger children had gotten the focus for, they take up a lot of our families, but we really wanted to make sure this year, as in the past, that we were focusing on our teens. So we did a special teen hangout. And we included some snacks in the bag as well. And then throughout the day, we had family relations, the Family Relations Committee, as well as other THON volunteers on a Zoom with families, as you can kind of see in the top right here, participating in these activities and really engaging the children and families throughout the day. I think this was just one of the first great example that no matter what, the THON community wasn't going to stop this year, and we weren't going to stop that emotional support, even with the added difficulties. And it was a great day all in all.
So I'm going to speak a little bit about the Giving Tuesday Challenge. Giving Tuesday has been sponsored by Johnson & Johnson since Katie started in the development role 2 years ago. So she was the one who really created this partnership. Obviously, Johnson & Johnson is a big recruiter from Penn State, and Katie was really able to take advantage of that to create this partnership. And that was something that was really exciting for us and something that I wanted to make sure that I was able to continue this year after that. Johnson & Johnson obviously is a very large company and is a huge supporter of THON. They have a ton of Penn State alumni, and having that support has been, integral in continuing this relationship. I think especially through a year that has been challenging. So on the left, you can see a graphic that we had created for Giving Tuesday. And I guess actually one thing I should clarify, if you're not familiar, Giving Tuesday is an international day of giving. It occurs the day after Cyber Monday. So kind of you have that whole, weekend of spending. So Black Friday, the weekend, and then Cyber Monday. And then Giving Tuesday is now the day after that is really devoted to giving back to charities that, you care about and things like that. So THON has been able to take advantage of that through kind of creating a very big Giving Tuesday initiative and push. It goes on all day, literally starting at midnight and going throughout the whole day. And so again, we really are able to push that through Johnson & Johnson and the relationship that we've had with them. Basically, the relationship that they provide is about $40,000 in matching funds. And then what we'll do is we will basically provide different times throughout the day in which volunteers, alumni, and friends can donate to THON, and they have the chance to get their donation matched. And what that means is, so there's crediting within THON. And so if somebody donates $50 to someone's donor drive, we'll pull from the Johnson & Johnson funds and then match that. So essentially their donation now becomes $100. So it's a way to double your, donation, and people really respond well to that. Our volunteers respond well to that. So through that, we were able to kind of post on social media. We kind of hosted call-a-thons and all these fundraising challenges through our matching funds throughout the day, which was a really, really successful day. And our Giving Tuesday efforts were raised enough money to fund, Katie, I think it's the next click. So they were able to fund 4 Diamonds research operations for 4 days, child life programs for 5 months, and psychological counseling for 1 year. Again, this was a reminder that our community was strong, and knowing that our volunteers really cared about things. As you can see at the bottom, our total that we raised for the day was $317,433. All of that in 1 day. So I know, from our end, it was, again, just an inspiring day, knowing that we still had the support there and we could push through this even in a completely virtual environment.
Definitely. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our athletics partnership. And again, going back to that family support that we really, as far as emotional support, that we really wanted to make sure that shined through the pandemic. So we put together many virtual Zoom hangouts for teams and for Diamonds families. In the past, we often had kind of some in-person meetups where these teams were able to kind of meet some of our families. So these virtual hangouts were really great opportunities to make that still happen throughout the pandemic. It also really had a renewed focus on kind of facilitating the relationship between the families and the athletes. Katie, if you want to move forward. So some of these activities included the trivia, a fashion show, and then some games like Heads Up, Scavenger Hunts, and some other things that you can just do virtually, and that the families really found engaging. Obviously, so many of our families look up to and really admire a lot of our great athletes, and we were able to have Zooms with women's soccer team, the men's and women's hockey team, and most recently with the football team. So these are really kind of just great opportunities to include athletics in the THON community and with the relationship with our 4 Diamonds families. And outside of kind of that family support and these Zoom calls, another great partnership with athletics was through the stadium's cutout promotion. So in Beaver Stadium during football season, we were able to work with athletics to get part of the proceeds of every cutout that was put up during the football season in Beaver Stadium. This is really a great opportunity for THON to really be involved and really show that great partnership between Penn State THON and athletics. So with this, we're going to transition over to THON weekend. Everything that we've been discussing up until now has been our year-long support, and I hope that everyone kind of got a glimpse at what we were able to do so far this year in a pandemic. I know personally I've really been inspired by the way that the THON community has bounced back and has been able to have such a successful year through everything that we had to change it. And that really comes down to our volunteers and the hard work that they have been putting in all throughout the year. And with that, we're going to transition to talking a little bit more about THON weekend. Our 3 main components that we're going to talk a little bit about are our live stream, our dancer engagement, and then our family engagement. THON weekend is just 9 days away now, and we're super excited to really get to share with you how the weekend's going to work.
Awesome. So yeah, our live stream is going to be taking place all 46 hours through the weekend. So it'll run from 6 p.m. on Friday, February 19th until 4 p.m. on Sunday, February 21st, which the total reveal will be at the very end of that. The stream will be static from 12 to 6 a.m. though, on Saturday and Sunday nights. And this is really just for us to align with dancer breaks. We are not recommending that dancers are standing the whole time because, they won't have the same support that they get within the Bryce Jordan Center from dancer relations committee members, from dancer relations captains, from all the people there who are there to support them, whether it's EMS or HAAS or things like that. We unfortunately are not able to provide that in a safe way this year. And so our recommendation is for them to take breaks, rest, sleep overnight. And that's going to be in line with our live stream, which will be, like we said, dead, not completely dead, but it will be relatively static overnight. The full schedule of events and spectator guide will be released close to the weekend. It is actually out now. If you want to go onto thon.org/live stream, there is a link to the spectator guide. If you'd like to look through it, that has a schedule of events, recommendations for, different things that are going on to watch, things like that. It's a really comprehensive guide to the weekend, and I definitely recommend checking it out if you have a chance. And like I said, entertainment acts and performance groups are going to be featured all weekend long. So it's still going to be a really exciting event. I think the biggest thing that Eddie, Katie, and I have all faced from this is a lot of questions of like, what is a live stream going to be relative to a normal THON weekend? And I think the biggest thing that all of us have realized throughout this is that while we're not in person, that magic and that excitement that comes within the THON community still persists. And I really believe that's going to translate over the live stream, which I know sounds weird considering all of us are on Zoom so much, but we are really excited about the weekend. It's a really incredible event, and there has been so much work that is put into it. So we're really excited for it, and we really believe it's going to be a special weekend, even if we are all celebrating remotely together. So
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited about the live stream. It's going to be super fun. And there's a lot of key elements that everyone's favorites from THON weekend will still be happening. Pep rally, national celebrity performers, go-go gadget, family speakers, literally everything that people love. We're trying to bring the magic of THON to homes around the world. And that leads into dancers. As we talk about a lot about around the world, we actually have dancers participating from Asia and India. So we're really excited to have THON's mission truly be all global right now. But dancers, so typically a lot of Penn State students will spend 3-4 years earning or working towards their organization or THON's overall mission in order to earn the recognition of being a dancer. It's a huge privilege for a lot of people and something that is an end goal for a lot of people with their THON involvement. So in order to still recognize and celebrate the effort of these volunteers, we wanted to ensure that dancing was still happening in some fashion. So we recognized our dancers in the last 2 weeks. They've registered, they've signed up for all of the things that they'll need. And if you haven't caught on already, there's a theme with at-home boxes for participation. So dancers are going to be given their bags that they'll have inside. It's a backpack, and then inside the backpack, they'll have shirts, different things throughout the weekend for engagement, different giveaways, things that they'll need directly for pep rally, so forth and so on. They'll have everything that they need to participate from home. We are requiring, like Aiden said, that dancers do not complete the full 46 hours from home. It's just not something that we feel is safe nor worthwhile doing. There are hundreds and thousands of other ways to show support for THON and Fort Edmonds families that do not involve staying awake for 46 consecutive hours. So we're challenging dancers to do other things throughout the weekend, whether they be specific tasks or selfie challenges or TikTok challenges or things that they can do that still is some type of tangible demonstration that they are showing support for our families. As well, we've created a dancer website. So that third bullet kind of alludes to this. On that dancer website, they'll have access to proper stretching, proper nutrition, proper COVID mitigation details, really everything that they need in one place. And they're still being partnered with a dancer relations committee member. So that individual will be kind of on call for them all weekend to make sure that they are eating well, they're sleeping, they're resting, they're hydrating, they're doing everything that they need to do to completely have a successful weekend. But we're really excited to still be able to honor a little bit under 600 students as dancers this year and celebrate all of their efforts over the last 3 or 4 years, as many of them are upperclassmen and they are kind of at the culmination of their THON experience. We know that this will still be a very special experience for them.
Great. And the last thing that we want to talk about is, of course, our focus and something that, really wants to, has to stay at the center of the weekend is our family engagement. So the first really great thing that we are doing is our THON weekend family boxes. So many of our families participate in these boxes, which we're super excited about, and have just been sent out or have been packaged in the last couple of days. So these family boxes are sent to 4Diamonds families and have different supplies and activities that will coincide with programming that will occur throughout the weekend. And inside these boxes, we also have a comprehensive guide for the families that will allow them to access all different kinds of virtual spaces throughout the weekend. And kind of the prime example of that is the family lounge stream. So we will have a stream for the families specifically to enjoy. Usually during Thon weekend, we have a family lounge that the families can kind of hang out in, and those family relations captains there to support them. And this is kind of um, all all kind of way to make that happen again this year in a virtual space. So in addition to that, of which that Thon.org live stream that will be happening all throughout the 46 hours, there will be family and teen lounges throughout the time, so that these families can kind of get more personal interaction, and we can have some of this family programming that is listed here. So this list of kids mail call, kids and teens talent show, pep rally, kids fashion show, family owl, a teen night, captain in training program, and at the explorers program. These are kind of just some examples of what we're doing for families throughout the weekend. A lot of these are events that have happened in the past with Thon and have been adapted, and some even made even more exciting because of the virtual space. One thing that really kind of came front of mind this year is our support of all families through not only through the pandemic, but through virtual engagement at all times. A lot of our 4Diamonds families, or at least quite a few of them, aren't able to attend our normal Thon weekend events anyway, because although quarantine may be new to a lot of us over the last year, a lot of these families, it's not new to them. They've been in that situation where they are not able to go into large spaces because they may be immunocompromised or for other reasons with their treatment. And the virtual aspect of Thon Weekend this year is actually really exciting for those families that may have not been, maybe Thon hadn't done as good a job as we could have engaging them in the past. And this has not only opened doors for them this year, but I think we have learned a great lesson that some of this virtual engagement needs to stay so that we can engage all of our families, not only those well enough to attend an event in the future. So we're really excited about that lesson and that virtual engagement moving forward as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Eddie. So that kind of sums up really the high level overview of what Thon has been up to this year, as well as what we're anticipating for Thon weekend just next week. The last thing that I want to say before we wrap up the formal presentation is that a lot of this is different. A lot of this does not look like the typical Thon that many of you may or may not be familiar with. But what has not changed and will never change is our ability to support our families, whether that's financially, emotionally, by spreading awareness, by supporting research, the whole laundry list of things that Thon and 4Diamonds and Penn State Health does to support children and families impacted by childhood cancer. That will never change. No matter if there's a pandemic or something else, we will always have that at the core of our mission and the core of why we do what we do. And even though it is different, it is still at the core exactly the same. So I'm really proud of Eddie and Aiden and the rest of the Thon 2021 Executive Committee, as well as every single volunteer and supporter. Whether you've given money or your time to Thon, you have made a difference and made our ability to still carry out our mission possible this year. Thon really does take a village to make happen. It's not just any 1, 2, or 3 people that are kind of behind the screens, if you will. It's all of us. It's all in Kelly Altland's background. She has a picture of a typical Thon weekend, and that is only a fraction of what makes Thon possible. So just wanted to extend our many thanks to you all for being here today. Now that you know more about Thon 2021 and what our plans are, you can now go out and be advocates for our mission and help to support us and further that dream that one day will come true, that we will dance in celebration of a cure together, hopefully one day, really, really soon. So thank you everyone for coming today and just taking some time to learn more. You're now part of this family, whether you were before or not, and we appreciate you taking the time to be here. So I'm happy to answer any questions. There we go. I'm happy to answer any questions. They can be serious, personal, related to Thon or not, whatever you want to know. We are here to answer.
Katie, I think there were some in the chat that we could probably start near the top.
Cool. Oh, okay. I have not paid attention to the chat, so one moment. Okay, what is the plan for medical support for dancers who will be in their apartment? Same question is for how dancer mail is being distributed. Is there a time? Okay, so I'll try to go through this one by one. In terms of medical support, we will have access to things like athletic training on call if dancers need to be educated about stretching or proper hydration and things like that. But if there are medical emergencies, they've been instructed to contact 911 or their healthcare provider because they're kind of on their own. That sounded wrong. They're not on their own, but we want to make sure that they know exactly where to go for what. So if it's something simple like stretching or recommendations for next meals, next hydration plans, things like that, they'll come to us. But if it is a true emergency situation that requires immediate medical attention, they will be contacting 911. For dancer mail, we are not collecting packages. They are being sent directly to dancers' homes. For mail itself, if they opted into a program and they are in the State College area, we'll be doing contactless delivery, similar to probably how you've gotten meals delivered. We'll leave it at the door and let them know that it's outside for them to acquire. There is a set time frame. I'm not going to necessarily share that because it's meant to be a surprise, but there is a specific time throughout the weekend that it'll be. Food plan. So we've provided a guide for recommended groceries or meals that they should enjoy throughout the weekend. And we have a few vouchers that'll be given to dancers for Subway and other local restaurants where they can go in and redeem that voucher for a meal if they choose so. Live stream will be not dark from midnight to 6 a.m. There'll be some images and clips of old THON, but it will not be live or engaging content. That way we can discourage people from staying awake overnight so that our volunteers and dancers can take all of the rest that they need to stay safe throughout the weekend. And yes, we recommend that dancers do not try to complete the full 46. That has been our messaging from day one, and it is in the dancer code of conduct that they will not be attempting to do so, just because it is, like Eddie mentioned, it's a little bit riskier when they're doing it at home and don't have people constantly watching them and checking in on them. We want to make sure that safety is a priority this year, not only with COVID, but also with physical and mental health when it comes to dancing. The cutouts that for football games be moved to the BJC. Yes, I am actually going later today to move some of the cutouts from Beaver Stadium to the Bryce Jordan Center. We're taking some into the building, and any cutouts that are in the BJC will also be remaining there for basketball. So if you purchase one or know someone that did, they will be there through the rest of the basketball season. Will you consider using Zoom going forward in order to engage students who want to dance but may be on study abroad experience or unable to be in State College? I think that's going to be a question for the future, depending on what circumstances we're in, but we're definitely open to trying new things. I think something that THON has learned this year is that we have to try different things to be adaptable. I think in the past, THON has been very closed-minded about changing traditions or changing certain things. And now our view on that has expanded. So I think it's definitely possible that we'll be better able to engage families that aren't able to be in State College, as well as students that are not here locally. Is there a virtual background of some sorts for dancers to take photos against? We have not done that, but that's a great idea. We can definitely pass that along as a recommendation, similar to Kelly's background. And I think someone else on here has it as well. Something that they can use on Zoom to show kind of like their THON support. I love that. They will be receiving in their dancer bags something from 4 Diamonds. That's like a photo selfie frame that they can hold up and take a picture in. So that kind of is a similar goal, but it's not necessarily a background. Additional costs by mailing out the various packages. So the additional costs for packages, we were able to include a lot of those fees within the actual cost for them. So everything that goes to our families is completely free. We of course do not charge them to participate in THON, but they were able to opt into covering shipping if they were able. And we also have had some support elsewhere. We didn't have any one person specifically underwrite those costs, but we have found ways to make sure that it didn't affect or significantly impact our bottom line. That being said, if you do end up purchasing anything on the THON store or online, you're able to pay for shipping. So that's kind of helped to mitigate the costs. But we've had a huge growth in our online THON store sales this year, as you can probably imagine. So at the end of the day, it all just about equals out for the cost of shipping, with the increase in sales versus the increase in comped packages being sent. You did it. Oh, okay. So I see a question from Rich then. Yes. So we did a series the last 3 weeks, and the last week is actually this week. Tomorrow's the last episode. If you go to THON's Facebook account, which you can just type Penn State THON in the search bar, We did an alumni reunion series, and this was geared towards getting old classes together to come back and celebrate and reminisce on their experiences with THON. So each episode has progressively gotten older and older. The first episode was, I'm going to get this a little bit wrong, so Eddie, correct me, but 2015 to 2020. And then prior to that was 2009 to 2014. Does that sound right? And then
2000. Yeah, I can jump in here. So we had, as Katie said, it was 2015 to 2020. Then we did one that was 2005 to 2014. The one from last Thursday was 1990 to 2004. And then this Thursday at 7 p.m., as Katie mentioned on Facebook, we'll be culminating the series with 1973 to 1989. So definitely encourage everyone to tune in. I know Rich also asked, are those still available online? Yes, they are. If you just go on Penn State THON's Facebook, they're all there, like posted on each date the last 3 weeks. So each Thursday night at 7 p.m. I can also send them over to anyone that wants them. We have links for them as well.
Okay, we have some time for additional questions. If you want to post them in the chat, please feel free to do so. Any other questions? Katie, Eddie, Aiden, anything else you'd like to add?
I can actually go back to the one earlier about the additional shipping costs. Katie, you may not have known about this, but I actually did get a partner to underwrite some of the costs for the family boxes yesterday. So some of them are being underwritten. We also worked with UPS over the summer. So they gave us some money for that as well, with the specific intention of knowing that we were going to have to send additional things. So yes, we've been able to cover the costs without, pulling any money out of our own pocket. So.
That's great news.
Okay, last chance here. I will share that the executive committee and all of the leaders have taken safety incredibly serious, as they have in the past, but especially this year. And as they answered many of the questions earlier, that was what led a lot of the decision, if not all the decision making. So again, another pride point.
Great. Well, if there's no other questions, if you think of anything after the fact, please feel free to email me. My email is director@thon.org. I'd be happy to answer any questions or chat with any of you about what THON is doing. And I hope that you will join us next weekend, starting at roughly 5:30 p.m. Friday, February 19th at thon.org/livestream. It's going to be a really special weekend. And even if you could just find 10 or 15 minutes to come on and show your support, that will make the world of difference in getting THON's mission and our message out there as we try to change the world. So thank you everyone again for being here. It was great to get to share some of this information, and I hope to see some of you again next week.
Katie, thank you so much. As I look around our Zoom room today, I know that you are all champions for THON. So many of you have shared your time, your talents, and your resources. And I really wish that you could all personally experience the full impact that THON has for our children and families. I'm telling you, it would make you smile, it would warm your heart, and even for the toughest of us, it would bring you to tears. THON is truly a celebration, and the fundraising is incredible, but the impact is amazing. And this year we'll continue that tradition. It truly is for the kids. So on behalf of Peter Tombros and me, thank you again for joining us this afternoon and for rising and unifying with us. A super special thank you to Katie, Eddie, and Aiden, and to all of the executive committee members and all of the volunteers. Katie, Eddie, and Aiden, thanks for your time this afternoon and for your leadership. I feel I can confidently speak for today's audience that we're super impressed and extremely proud of the work that you continue to do to make a difference in the lives of children and family who are fighting cancer. So by tomorrow, all of you will receive a survey about this event, which we hope that you'll complete. You'll also get a recording of today's afternoon conversation, which we hope that you will also share with friends and colleagues. Please keep an eye out for special edition of our Noontime Knowledge series in April as we celebrate National Volunteer Week. I hope all of you continue to stay safe and connected to our Penn State community. And remember, it's never too late to give, or even give again if you've already done that. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you very much.